so much for having me. I'm honored to be following the last two speakers, but a little bit intimidated. And I do talk shows and lots of media interviews, but put me in front of a room of techies, and I'm like, oh my God. And the reason for that, well, before I say that, my talk is called Next Sex, Relating and Mating in an Age of Immersive Technology. This talk, it's the first time I've done this. I have different versions of this, but this has to be my G-rated version per Joshua's instructions.
I mean, PG-13, I think,
okay.
We can...
So I love that I heard you say porn when you were talking about me. Not that I do porn at all, that's not what I do. But I was prepared to say adult entertainment all night, so you might hear me use those two words interchangeably. So, again, this is close to actual footage of me in front of my computer. But I'm not a techie, I'm a psychologist. But what I lack in tech, I make up in passion, and I certainly do know sex tech. So this is a world that I've been studying for the last 2 years. And it may be relatively small as part of this community, but it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, so there's definitely space for this. So how did I get here? Why me? Because when I tell people that I'm now writing a book about sex tech, they look at me like, why? What's the connection? So what happened, about 2 years ago now, I was watching the BBC show Swipe, and it was about virtual reality. It was just a fantastic show, really the best information that I had on virtual reality up to date. So I walked into the kitchen, looked at my husband and said, this is gonna change everything. And I mean, I felt it, like I was so excited about this, and I know most of you out there probably feel the same way. So what was it about virtual reality and immersive technologies that was so exciting to me? So what Joshua didn't tell you is that I'm a somatic psychologist. Turn that off, sorry. And soma means body. So with my clients, I'm looking and as curious about what they're saying with their mouth as what they're communicating through their body. And I really feel like immersive technologies, VR specifically, is the advent of somatic technology. So right now we're on the cusp of the fourth wave of our technological transformation. So just a little bit of techie stuff here. The first wave was in the 1970s, where we went from numbers to text. And then in the 80s, we went from text to graphics. And then in 2007, everything changed. And we got the iPhone, Android, tablets, when we went from graphics to touch. So where we are right now is going from touch to a visual experience. So really what this means, from things that we carry to things that we wear. So we're moving from our phones to our watches and to goggles. Goggles will soon be glasses. So, but it's not just about sex, right? It's about relationships. And people, the big question is, will these immersive technologies bring us closer together? Or will they push us farther apart? And I really don't see this as an either or, I see it as an and. And the way I see that is that we can use this interdependently, so that's me to you, and interdependently, so me with myself. So either my relationship with you or my relationship with myself. And through the lens of human sexuality, that's incredibly important. So it encourages both sexual and relational health. So hooking up. Do human connection and technological connection have to be dualistic? I absolutely do not think that they do. So when I talk about sex tech, I get a lot of fear and trepidation from people. They say, oh my gosh, we're already so segregated, so isolated from each other. Aren't immersive technologies going to make this even worse? And I look at them and I say, how will it make it worse? And I'm looking to you, and I see a lot of millennials out there. The millennial generation is having less sex than any generation in recorded history. So how are immersive technologies going to make this worse? I don't think they will. I think they're actually going to make it better. I think it's going to start bringing people together sexually, relationally, connectively, all those things, because it's connected technology. We're not just watching, we're experiencing, we're being, we're in it. We get that felt sense. So for me in my research for the book, I went out and interviewed the biggest names in sex tech. And through that, I identified what I call the 3 E's of VR. So the first is VR is embodied. And I think that's fairly self-explanatory, but really it's about a felt sense. We're having an embodied experience with virtual reality. We're not just watching, we're doing, we're feeling it. VR is also empowering. So that really, for me, is about self-efficacy. When we do something, and especially through sexual health, so much of it is going to be educational, at least I hope it is, that's the lens I'm seeing it through. We have the sense of sexual self-efficacy. So how we relate sexually, we get to embody that, we feel empowered about it. And VR is also empathic. Actually, it's been asked, is VR an empathy machine? I think it's as close to an empathy machine as anything that we've had to date, and that's exciting for me. And hopefully for you guys too, you're here. So what is it that makes immersive technology so connecting? And I was talking to Anne in the audience. Anne, where did you go earlier? There she is. And she nailed it. It's about eye connection, right? Or eye contact. So feeling seen, being seen. The first time I put on goggles with an adult entertainment company who had hired me for a project, they showed me their most popular film. So I'm putting it on in a big boardroom at a company with a CEO standing there next to me, and there's a little 20-second warm-up of a woman, and then she leans in to kiss me, and I literally leaned back, and I walked out going, oh my gosh, I just made such a fool of myself. But it's like, wait a minute, I don't know you yet. You get that feeling, I'm not ready. But she was looking right at me, I was looking right at her. So again, it was just oh my gosh, if this is what the adult entertainment and porn can do, can you imagine if we pair this with education, with sex education? So when I look into your eyes, I tend to lose my thoughts. That's what I'm working with my clients on all the time. Get out of your head and into your body. Get out of your head and into your body. Your body won't lie. Your body knows what's going on. It knows what you want. And VR is a great vehicle for that. So arousing adaptivity. So as technology adapts to our lives, we adapt to technology. That's been happening since the dawn of time, since sticks. We use technology, but it's really, I think with VR and content development at this point, I would love to steer that direction where we can have entertainment and education together, and I'll talk a little bit more specifically about that, rather than just entertainment and just education. And then there gets to be the argument of real sex versus virtual sex. To me, it's all sex. It's all real sex. Not that I think virtual sex is going to replace real sex. We still need connection. Both presenters said it tonight. We still want to connect. We still want to be together. But I don't want the experience that VR gives or any of the other sex tech iterations to be diminished because a person chooses to use technology to be sexual rather than being with another human. We all have different ways of expressing ourselves, and through sex it's so varied. And like I just said, we all have a basic imperative need to connect. So sex tech, we're going to get into the more juicy topics here and things that I've learned. So it's really innovation, intrigue, what and who's coming. Let's see. So most of you in here probably know, are there people, lots of gamers in here? Yes? Yeah, okay. So sex usually follows gaming. Sometimes sex is ahead and the gaming technology follows, but in general, sex tech follows gaming. So what we have now for sex specifically is teledildonics. Hopefully you can figure out what that means, but so this means that your partner can be in Berlin and you can be in Brooklyn and you guys can be enjoying each other. So literally controlling each other's pleasure, knowing how each other feels remotely, virtually. And then haptic feedback. So any gamers out there that have used haptic feedback vests yet? Yeah? What did you guys think? Yeah, so you know what this is. And most of the time it's vests. There's suits now too, but right now for the most part we just have vests. So if you get shot with an arrow, you feel it. If it's raining, you feel it. If you walk into a cold environment, you feel it. So I'm just imagining pairing teledildonics with haptic feedback like intimate wear. Can you even imagine the intimate erotic experience that you would be feeling. So it's really, there's so many directions that this could go. And this is probably the one that people are most interested in. The media is covering it like crazy right now. I'm getting asked probably at least once a week about the sex bots. It's true, the sex bots are all coming, but you guys don't have to be afraid. So, so I went to Abyss Creations, and they are the makers of Real Dolls in San Diego, and met with their CEO, Matt McMullen. Fascinating guy. You walk into this warehouse and there's bodies and parts hanging from the ceilings. You literally get to customize your bot, which are really at this point they're dolls, but their skin feels real, their hair feels real. They have orifices that you can take out, clean, put back. You get to choose all of that. So he actually has one bot now called the Harmony that he's equipping with AI. So she can carry on a conversation, mostly about sex, but she'll say all the things you want to hear. She'll share all your kinks. And really, again, what the AI, what he's focusing on is the eye contact. So having her see you, feeling like you see her. So really, this, when people are talking about sex bots now, this is what they look like. This is Westworld-ish. That's decades away. So Matt McMullen said about 10 years until he has one that can stand up and walk. And also, I'm not sure if you guys know that Lumi Dolls is another company that does sex dolls, sex bots. They opened a all sex bot brothel in Barcelona, Spain last year. It's a huge success where they're thinking of opening more. So what's next for sex? That's my big question now for my book and my practice. So what are the therapeutic implications? Those are really, again, combining the educational and the entertainment. So an adult entertainment company called Bedoink has a program called Virtual Sexuality, and they hired me to write the first female POV VR sexual experience for women directed by a woman. So I wrote the script. I have never written a script in my life, and then I was asked to write a POV virtual reality entertainment meets education porn script. It was amazing. And for any of you that write in VR, it is so hard. So I mean, writing normally is so hard, but when you're writing for VR camera, crazy difficult, but really fantastic. And I pulled the information from my practice. So what do women want? I picked 3 things that most women come in asking about, and you can come find me later and we can talk more about that. But I wrote a script around that, and again, it was empowering, it was embodied, it was all those things that I know VR can be. And it wasn't completely educational boring, nor was it porn that a lot of people aren't going to relate to. So it was really a meet in the middle. The relational implications, I think there's a lot of question marks here with this one. So is VR sex with someone who's not your partner cheating? What if we have our first date is through VR, our first sexual experience is through teledildonics? Have we had sex? Is sex with a robot cheating? So there's all these things that we don't know yet. And then lastly, the societal implications, and those are really the big picture and where I'm hoping to make a difference. So my whole platform is about sex positivity. All sex is good sex as long as it's consensual and pleasurable. VR and immersive technologies check both those boxes in a huge way. So I hope we can judge less about people who want to use technology to fulfill all of their sexual health needs, as well as people who don't want to use technology at all. There's ground for everybody. So I think that is it with me, except that I want you to connect with me. So my sex tech consulting is through nextsex.com, and there's my addresses if you want to find me. And then private practice information is here, and all the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, it's all just Dr. Holly Richmond. So I was really hoping for questions, but I know we don't have time, so
you went a little quicker than I thought you would. So if there's a few questions.
Okay. Yes?
What context are you imagining educational stuff? I'm having a hard time imagining that's public schools.
Oh, yeah. Well, so in public schools down the road, for right now, I don't know if you know, but Pornhub has now an educational channel attached to it. So they have a doctor who does videos that are both educational and entertaining. So it's really a mix. But for me, what I would love to do is to create a library, not only for sex therapists, but for therapists or people could go online and get them. So a guy that's having erectile dysfunction issues, literally a video that would show him how to work with that. A woman that's suffering from low libido, anorgasmia, all those kind of things. So I would love to have a library, but then also maybe some of the major porn players out there utilizing them. Yes.
You mentioned that VR has the potential to give you an embodied experience, but from my experience, it's very visual. So do you think that the big potential is in the haptic feedback gear? Is because the way I see it, it's not as much different than watching on a screen. It's a little more intimate, but that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're watching, because for me, it was a very visceral, like a body-based experience when I watch VR. I don't feel like I'm just watching, I feel like I'm being, but you're right, with like the teledildonics and haptic feedback, I think that will be even more immersive. Yeah. Yes.
Is there a technology that you're really excited about, but you didn't have time to put in your presentation?
Oh my gosh. Probably, so the VR is exciting for me, and we were talking a little bit about it, Jessica. So when I have a client come to me now, and he's an adult virgin, and I get a lot of those. So he either has social anxiety, he's on the spectrum, there's some kind of physical disability, he's never been with a woman, but he really wants to be. My options are sending him to 2D videos, which are fair. My next option is to send them to a surrogate partner therapist or a sexological body worker. Those are few and far between, and in some states illegal and expensive. So then he's seeing me as a therapist, seeing the surrogate partner therapist to learn, because I can't touch, I'm a psychologist, so that's a recipe for losing my license, and not what I do. So if I want him to have that body-based experience, I have to send him or her somewhere else. VR is perfect, like it's just perfect. It solves that problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you heard of the robot that was just given citizenship in Saudi Arabia?
No.
Handling robotics. It's causing quite a huge social uproar, especially among the women in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are around these robots potentially so real, and they are given citizenship in certain countries, and what kind of conundrum that causes in relationships and such.
Yeah. It's interesting, because when I went to Abyss Creations, there's not a chance in the world that you would ever think that these dolls are real. Maybe in 10 or 20 years they would look real. Again, and it's about the eyes and the eye contact. But being citizens, they don't have free thought. So that's where, for me, it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to have to do some research on that. But you guys know about the guy in Texas who wanted to marry his laptop a few years ago.
Yeah.
But that was really about marriage inequality, and yeah. Go ahead.
So human beings are messy and imperfect,
Mhm.
and having a relationship with one needs setting limitations, and perhaps there's even some discussion to move away from human relationships and the decrease in sexuality, is that there is these options to avoid imperfection and go with this, and that is only getting more so.
Mhm.
So we just have to push through so the technology goes past perfect and then becomes imperfect again.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and in my book I will definitely address that. I think there is, to some degree, there is that, but I don't think we're ever going to lose our inherent need to connect. And because these technologies are connecting, at least they feel that way to me, that when you use them, you're connecting to an experience, you're not just watching it. My hope is, I'll finish my sentence. My hope is that that sense of connection is going to infiltrate into our outside lives. So not to say that this isn't real, but this experience is going to translate into how we move through the world. And I think as this progresses, as VR and immersive technologies progress, they're going to be everywhere. So it's going to be dating apps, hooking up, all of those things. So as people use them more, they're going to want to use them together. They're fun to use together. I mean, were you watching people in the back here tonight? People want to use them together. Sex is a little bit different, especially masturbation, but for the most part, I feel like people are going to want to use these, have these experiences, share some of them at least. Yes.
Do you see a lot of cases where, increased use of the technology is leading to more, physical sex in the real world? Or do you mostly see increased use of technology just sort of redefining what sex is into a more technological space?
Yeah, the latter. I really don't ever see much of more sex with themselves at home using technology translating to more sex on the outside. It's usually people just get to redefine what sexual health is for them, and it includes technology. So I feel like the walls are coming down around masturbation, for one. That's been in the closet for such a long time, and it's such a part of our own healthy sexuality. So I think with these immersive technologies, that's coming out a little bit, and it gives people more and more immersive options. Yeah, last question.
So does that lead to more dehumanizing our preferences? If you have a perfect thought, whether male or female, and I hope all the customizations are available equally to women and same to men.
Yes.
Then that's like so perfect. Why would you want to go and see your morals?
Right, and I think that's what you were saying too, is like humans are messy. But humans are messy and fun and unpredictable. All of those things that the other two presenters talked about tonight, I don't think we can live without that. A bot isn't going to be particularly funny. She can be programmed to say what we want her to say, but I still believe people are going to want to connect. I see it in my office every day. No matter how bad the relational or sexual problem is, most of these people want to connect with people who are around them in more intimate ways, and I think the immersive technologies are just a pathway to that. That's my belief, my hope, and I hope it is the truth. Yeah.
All right, maybe last question.
Okay, last question.
So you said that you see like VR and like sexual experiences through VR, like going into dating apps and doing all these things. What's your thoughts on like porn in general? Because right now I'm not really seeing porn like being a part of like Tinder or other apps.
So porn specifically, so that's where, I mean, most of the billions of dollars that are in sex tech are in porn right now. And this really, again, we are rewriting the script in so many ways, because as you all know, you can't take 2D content and make it 3D or make it usable for VR. We have to rewrite everything. So my position is, what's there is great, but it's entertaining. The problem happens when someone walks in my office and says, I want to have sex like that, and I have to say, that's not real sex. Those people are edited, and they have fluffers, and they took pills, and they did all these things. So our opportunity right now, again, is to combine education and entertainment to make it in a way that's relatable. And I think that, at least I hope, porn companies will be investing in that. I know at least one invested in me to write that script for women, the POV women. So I'm pretty certain that other companies will do so as well. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.